My name is Jennifer Davidson. I am the chair of the Writers Guild of Ireland. I'm a screenwriter and I'm also a mentor with Minding Creative Minds. And we have a brilliant panel with us here today to talk all about success and survival in the Irish film and television industries. So we do have Sinead O'Brien, my co-conspirator on this panel, who is a writer and director. Katie McNeice, also a writer and director, and Hannah Quinn, who is a director, but we might convince her that she's a writer too by the end of the day. So welcome everybody. It's great to see so many people here so early in the morning. So I think we will kick off, and I might just ask the ladies just to introduce themselves, just to give you a bit of a flavour of who they are and what they do. So Sinead, we might start with you.
Okay, my name is Sinead O'Brien. I've worked in the industry for about 25 years. I would mainly work as a documentary director and non-fiction writer. More recently, I've kind of got into a bit into drama. I've just done my first short with DLR and moving into other areas in the drama area, but I would still mainly be a documentary director. Myself and Jennifer have kind of done quite a lot of panels together. We both mentor with Minding Creative Minds. I was very interested in what Dave was saying there, and it's so great to hear that the work that it's doing for people. I personally love mentoring. I think I think it shows people that what success actually means in the industry. And it's not often that you are continuously doing well, just you go through periods of that. And I think that's a bit of what we're going to talk about today. But that's it really for the moment. And I'll introduce Katie now.
Thanks. I'm Katie McNeice. I'm a writer-director. I've got a Kerry accent, but I live in Dublin. I have written and directed, I think, 5 short films now. I'm currently editing an Irish language short called Fuck a Boil of Cree. I don't really speak that much Irish. It's a slight speed bump. But I have a focus short coming up in a couple of months, and I have co-written my first feature film already. It's Who We Love. It was out in cinemas the year before last. I think the thing about me is that I did my first film in orbit, which I self-funded. I told AIB I was buying a car. I can't drive, and I got out alone for 10 grand, and I made my first short film, and I wrote and directed it. I had to teach myself how to edit. I did the VFX. I ended up having to produce it myself, and it was this amazing experience. And then COVID happened, so I didn't do any traveling during college because I thought I'll go be a filmmaker and then I'll travel with my films. So then I stayed home. My film went everywhere. I was so annoyed, and I ended up then teaching myself in the course of COVID from 2020 through to this year how to get funding, how to pitch, how to promote your work, and how to network from your bedroom, which is very tough. And eventually I was very lucky. I did get a lot of funding. I got the IMDb script to screen for Lambing. I got the Kildare short film bursary with that, so combined those two together. Comórtas Machine, which is the Irish language fund. It's only 5 grand, but because I was funding from home, or pitching from home, I had notes all over my room. It looked like a beautiful mind, and I could just read the vocab that I needed. And then combine that with the Screen Kerry bursary to do Fuck a Boil of Cree. I did a 48-hour film. So I've kind of learned how to cobble together all these, like, not direct routes, but these kind of roundabout ways to get films made. And I'm writing my first solo feature film there at the moment. But on top of that, I have a full-time job. I am a full-time producer for an international learning company called Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. So I do about between 35 and 50 hours a week for them, and then have to balance that with my other work. So a lot of how I get things done is learning how to balance that and compromise with myself and be realistic about what I can get done creatively in a week. And also I think one of the main things I'm learning is how to appreciate the highs and not just go, okay, that's done, and just move on to the next thing. So it's pretty much where I am at the moment. It's all about balance and juggling.
Good.
Hi, my name's Hannah Quinn. I work as a director in mostly TV drama. I started as a trainee AD in the 90s, and I worked my way up, third AD, second AD, first AD. And then I took a bit of a career break, or a meltdown break, actually. I was working on on a big film in England, and I had at the end of it, it was such a stressful film, I realised I didn't want to ever work in film ever again, and so I took some time off, and I ended up staying off for about 4 years, and by the time I was I'd gone to college and everything while I was off for those 4 years, and I had 2 small kids. By the time I came back, I was actually kind of going, why did I stop? I used to love this film work, and I got back into it as an AD, and I was actually thinking about directing and moving into that world. Because for years I thought, oh God, I couldn't be a director, that's for the guys, you know. And there was maybe about 5 female directors I'd worked with at that stage, out of 120 guys, male directors. So I started thinking about maybe I should start directing, and what are the steps to do that. And I had a look to see what kind of things women had done to make those moves, like doing soaps and writing their own shorts, making short films, which you end up funding yourself anyway, because it's a hard step to make. But so I made my first short, and I got a shadow director job on Red Rock with Lisa Mulcahy as the director, shadow director, and then I kind of just went step by step and went, oh, maybe if I do this, and then maybe if I do that, and then maybe if I do that. And, you know, wouldn't it be great to work on something like Vikings? They'll never have me, obviously, but sure, why not? And I just put that out there in my head, like, well, that would be great, because that's just down the road in Wicklow. I could be near my kids, and just weirdly, I actually did manage to get this Netflix job, and because I had a Netflix job in England, which was The Stranger, Ireland suddenly went, oh, there's somebody who could maybe do a Netflix job in Ireland. Ireland's funny like that. You sort of have to make it big somewhere else before they recognise you here, as you know. So that's probably why I was looking at, you know, EastEnders and those kind of jobs in England, because it's just a bigger pool. There's so much more work. But then once you've done that, then you can come home and you can get work here, and you're like, oh, you're kind of elevated. It's the same actually for ADing. I got a job on with a British production and British ADs, and suddenly Ireland was going, oh, she's a good AD, because they thought she was good over there. And so I got more work in Ireland. But yeah, so I just kind of been very lucky. I think also because Me Too happened when I was looking at directing. So 2016, suddenly everybody, the Irish producers, the British producers, worldwide were going, oh, maybe we should have more female directors. Oh, and who do we know that could possibly direct? And oh, well, Hannah has done lots of set work. I had worked as an AD for so long that, you know, maybe I would know how to run a set, which is, you know, half the battle of directing, as well as so many other, obviously, decision-makings to do. But that was kind of in my favour, that I had so much experience as an AD. And so I was kind of getting more work as a director, and I just haven't stopped really since 10 years now, I guess, which is fantastic. For me, brilliant. But, you know, like that, you know, you have these quieter times between jobs where you think you'll never work again. You still have those, and you still start every job going, will I ever work again?
You know, I think it's always really reassuring when you hear stuff like that no matter what stage anyone is at in their career, we all have those moments of going, oh, it's never going to happen again, or, you know, when will the next job appear? But I think you hit on something really important there, Hannah, about that kind of cliche of you need to be successful abroad in order to be recognised here. And I think we hear a lot, you know, Screen Ireland have been publishing a lot of really brilliant statistics in the last couple of years about how much the industry is booming, you know, how many productions are happening, but a lot of those do seem to be kind of inward productions coming in, you know, and creating a lot of work for our crews and our studios, but the creative leads are not necessarily Irish, or if they're Irish, they often seem to be Irish people who have had some success abroad first. I know with the Writers Guild we do a salary survey every year, and I think last year, sort of while Screen Ireland were going record-breaking year, the average income of a writer in Ireland from their writing work alone was €10,000. And then not to put people off the industry, not to put people off working in film and television, but I think we do need to be conscious of, you know, the realities when you're an Irish writer or director trying to establish yourself within the industry. So I'm curious to know, in these boom times, are we finding that boom? Are we finding that there's more work happening, Sinead?
It's always tricky because, you know, I think we've all worked in the industry a very long time. Myself and Hannah have both worked for 30 years, 25, 30, it's so long, it's embarrassing. And I would have started out on a film set like Hannah. And, you know, the industry is not just about creatives, it's also about the crew. And we all have this mindset, and clearly you have it too, Katie, where you live in kind of constant fear. Less so now, because I kind of don't give a shit so much, because I'm older, but I understand why people worry all the time. So it's that constant feeling. I think in reality, on the ground at the moment, I think Ireland has been through a really, really tricky time internally, because we're a small country and we're reliant on very few sources for funding. So when one of the major funders goes into complete chaos, which was RTE this year, everybody's left, you know, in turmoil. You know, their budgets were completely cut back. Like, one of the projects I have going at the moment is with RTE, and it was put on hold for 6 months from the day that the whole Ryan Tubridy thing happened. That was it. So I can only imagine that that happened to an awful lot of other people. Now, we were very lucky. We got back into production, and now we're actually in post. So we were fine. We were fully funded. But I would imagine that might have been a low percentage of people. Like, the industry has been really tough on everybody this year, I think. And then, of course, with the writer's strike globally, that's affected, should we say, the more international productions coming in. So you've had if there's a hierarchy of filmmakers, you know, and crew, all the way from the top down to the very bottom, and I'm talking like the trainees, everybody has suffered. It has been a really tough year, but it is turning around. Like, it has definitely turned around. In fact, in the last 3 weeks, I've heard that it's just gone insane. I'm not quite sure, but I think it's to do with the tax break coming in on May 1st. Is that correct? And then also, you know, I think there's more, you know, the writer's strike is now over, people are going back into production, but there's also more certainty within the industry for some reason. But look, the thing about it is, and I think that this is what we're all trying to say up here, the way it is today may not be the way it is in 1 year's time. So you have to, and one of the reasons why Minding Creative Minds is amazing is because, you know, when we were younger or starting out and you were freaking out about your career not working, there wasn't anybody you could talk to. You know what I mean? And this is why I think this is amazing, because it also gives you the resilience and the capacity to carry on. And I think over the years we've probably lost a lot of very talented people, because talent and confidence don't always go together. Some of the most talented people in the world can be very underconfident, and they just go under the radar, you know? But anyway, listen, I am talking too much, so we'll move on swiftly now to one of these guys. Or have you a different question for them?
Yeah, I think maybe just because you touched on resilience, Katie, I might ask you, how do you stay resilient? How important is resilience in your skill set?
That's such a good question. I think I didn't start to feel like I was building up any sense of resilience until I actually paused everything that I was doing. Like, if I'm writing, I can't direct. If I'm directing, I can't write. If I'm editing one thing, I can't be writing something else. And I had to take a step back and look about, okay, what are you actually doing? You've got a full-time job. You're paying very high rent in an apartment. I got funded for, I think, 4 films. I've never been paid to direct. I got 1 token fee to write a feature film. I've written 7 films. I never got paid for any of those. I've edited 5 films. One of them was nominated for an IFTA. I didn't get paid for that. And I actually got tricked into doing it for free by someone who took advantage of me. And I think it takes stepping back and going, okay, realistically, what can I do? And not only what can I do, but what can I expect from myself? So like I've got friends, really good friends, who are kind of at the same career stage as me, where like we don't want to make shorts anymore. I think women in particular do that. They make 8 short films and all the lads do 2 and then they get their feature, you know. It's an attitude. It's like, no, I'm going to stop doing that now, I'm going to make my feature film. But it was only through speaking with other directors, I was like, hold on, so you've actually written a series this year and everything, but you're living at home and your mum and dad don't charge you rent, and of course you can do that. That lines up with your expectation for yourself. That's realistic. I can't do that. So I need to be more patient with myself and realize, you know what, the producing job that I have, there's fortune that comes with that, because I'm building a muscle that I'm using in all my other work. I'm basically show running these slates of animation from script all the way through to the final thing, and it comes in cycles. So I have to look at those cycles every couple of months and go, okay, this week is going to be really intense on voiceover recording, and I'm going to be up till 3 o'clock in the morning directing kids in the States. I can't get up at 6 then and write. So I think when I stopped trying to maintain a structure that didn't fit with what I was doing, everything suddenly made sense, you know. And yoga's great, right? It makes you like calm down and everything. So it's just stop being hard on yourself and learn what works. Like whatever schedule you have, like your schedule is not going to fit someone else. Like I'm a person who really likes structure. I love to get up at the same time every day, eat the same thing, do the same stuff. That doesn't really work. So I had to learn, like the industry doesn't suit the ideal for me. I have to find a kind of a middle ground between the two, where I have my ideal structure, but I'm mentally comfortable if I go slightly above or beyond it, if that makes sense. Like the disappointment of not getting funding, like I went for Focus Shorts twice before I got it, and the feedback was, your script was excellent, but this other one was just a little bit better. That's really hard, because like I don't have any feedback there. I can't do anything with that. Like the first time I went for the Kildare fund, I got down to the last one, and they said, yeah, you actually almost got it. We were going to have funding for 2 films, but we actually only got 1. I was like, I can't do anything with that. You know, what do I do? I can't do anything better. And sometimes knowing that you're doing your best and it's still not enough, it's crushing. But you just have to accept, I love the process. If you learn to love the process, I think the disappointments, they do hurt you, but you need to learn to shake them off a little bit. It's all about balance. If you are working and doing nothing else, when the rejection hits you, you have nothing to fall back on. You need relationships, you need a social life, you need to eat well, you need to learn how to relax. Work can't be everything, because when work doesn't go well, then you have nothing. It's bleak, isn't it?
Bleak, but I think also like really crucial to talk about this, and really important to remember that you're going to face a lot of rejection, unfortunately, in the film and television industry. If you're trying to be a writer or a director, not every project is going to be successful. Not every job that you go for or pitch for is going to be the right fit for you. But often it's so little about you and so much more about the people on the other side of the table and other decisions and other feedback that you actually can't really do anything about. You can't influence. All you can do is keep doing your best. And I think, like Katie said, if you enjoy the process, instead of holding off on like celebrating until you get like your IFTA award or your screening in the Savoy, because those things can be very few and far between. Whereas if you enjoy every step of the process, I think it makes it much easier to navigate. And I think when we listen to particularly as screenwriters, a lot of the screenwriting gurus talk about, you know, you must sit at your desk every day. You must hit a certain page count or a certain word count every day. That's not realistic if you've got a family to look after or a day job or rent and bills to pay. So I think take all that advice with a really large pinch of salt and think about, it is important to make time for your creativity, but sometimes that's 20 minutes in a week, sometimes it's 20 minutes in a month. That's okay. You've got to work with what suits you and your lifestyle, because you're going to just put yourself under so much pressure to do what Robert McKee is telling you to do. And that is not realistic for everybody. So I think just really bear that in mind. Hannah, I think a lot of people will be looking at you as a really successful director, and someone who is absolutely at the top of their career.
I look at that. That's really successful.
They're
doing their own projects, you know. Yeah.
But can you do you have any advice for people in the audience who want to be directors, who want to, you know, progress that as a career path? What are the important things other than knowing how to direct?
Work. Take whatever you can get. Like I come from a filmmaking background, but it was a poor filmmaking background. So there was no money in the arts, but everybody worked in the arts, but nobody got paid. And when I started going into it, I wanted to get paid. I wanted to actually have a career. I wanted to get paid. I think my first production runner job was 150 quid. I got it up in Ardmore Studios. And, you know, I wasn't going to be able to write and direct and be a filmmaker in that respect. I just wanted to earn money and have independence. So I've built up that experience through working as an AD and watching, you know, hundreds of other directors and how they you know, what their shortcuts are, what their styles are. I've learned all their different styles. And that, I suppose, is my modus operandi, is just to keep getting paid at what I do, whether that was, I mean, I wasn't always an AD, you know, I'd work, if there wasn't any work, I would, in film or TV, I would work as a temp secretary or babysit or work in bars or whatever. But, you know, then I would use that as experience of observation for how everybody else lives, you know, and not just us in the film industry. But it was because I loved what I did. My first job was, I hated production runner actually, but I loved trainee AD because that was directing, but I didn't realize. I just thought, I'm just good with people. Oh, this is nice. And we get people into costume, makeup, hair, and then we dress them on set, and then we send them home, and they get money, and I get money, and oh gosh, this is actually, you know, this is going to keep going. This is like a really nice way to make a living. But I don't know. I just suppose just keep working, and whether that's observing and in your downtime writing and thinking about things that you'd like. I didn't want to be a director, by the way. I didn't think I could be. And it was other people who were saying to me, and you know, having good people around you who are, you know, supporting you and encouraging you, going, Hannah, why don't you direct? And I'm like, I can't do that, you know. But it was other people who were telling me that, you know, you could possibly do that, and building my confidence. So it's having good people around you really helps. But resilience and trying to cope with stuff. A friend of mine has a big bat and a cushion, and that's how they cope with stress. I watch a lot of air crash investigation and go, oh, well, you know, life could be worse. But there's, you know, yoga and diet and all that kind of stuff is great and all, but when you're stressed, it's hard to like calm yourself enough to do that, isn't it? So sometimes you have to find really extreme ways to cope with us wanting to do the job that we love, and you know, and stay in it and not be kicked out of it, like I was, like a lot of us get kicked out of it, because it can overwhelm you. You really want to do this job and you're not being allowed, and it's like, oh, I really want to be in it. It's stressful.
Brilliant. So there's a catchphrase that they're using in the States at the moment, which is survive until 25. Basically, keep your head down, get through the global contraction, and hopefully things will pick up next year. And I should say, because my colleagues in the Writers Guild of America would kill me if I didn't, that the reason for the global contraction is not the writer's strike, it's the studios. But I think we're also facing, obviously we're impacted by the global contraction. We're also, as Sinead pointed out, impacted by the mess that is happening, unfortunately, in RTE. So if we think about surviving until 25, if we think about like getting through the struggle and that brighter future for the Irish industry, what would we love that to look like? What is like the best version of the Irish industry for writers and directors that you could think of? Sinead?
With regards to drama, and I mean, I have to say that I do think that Screen Ireland, in fairness, me as a documentary maker, that used to be, I mean, I love making documentaries and I love writing non-fiction books. And as I'm moving in more into drama, my work would be very much social issue orientated. So that is the world that I love. When I did a documentary probably in 2015, 2016, which was the last, a bit like Hannah. I did a documentary and I just thought, That's it now. And it was what you would at that time call a high budget documentary. It would have won the IFTA that year, it would have won the Galway Film Flag, did all the rounds. And I got 60 grand from Screen Ireland, and that was probably around the highest amount that you could get at that time. So move forward to 23, 24, and I'm doing 2 documentaries, and the amount that we've got from Screen Ireland is 240,000 euro, and it can be more. It can be up to 275. I mean, that is a massive jump. They have really taken on board what you need to make a documentary. So suddenly, I kind of stopped making documentaries because I just thought, why am I killing myself here? You know, I'm winning awards. This is going all over the world. Yet I'm spending 2 years and maybe getting paid 30 grand, 40 grand. I can't remember what I got paid. Now suddenly, not only am I massively funded, you can jump then, because you get 275 or 250 from Screen Ireland, then you double that. So the budget is suddenly 600,000. So not only am I properly and fully properly paid, I have massive resources. I now have researchers. I now have, experts that I can bring in and work on this documentary. So my whole workload has gone down, and quite rightly so.
Yeah.
You know what I
So
mean?
I
It is
think-
about, I was doing way too much before, and somebody somewhere actually, but I mean, I'd say it was more of a monetary decision, and streamers wanted documentaries. So I kind of say to people now, like, documentary is an area to move into because the funding is really
But I think
massive.
funding is the important thing. And I
All
think
funding.
actually the really short answer to what we want our industry to look like
Is
and
more
what our better
funding.
industry
Yeah.
is more funding. We are pretty close to time. Do we have time
Sorry.
for like one question from the audience? Yes, here in the front.
2 seconds. Testing. One. Is it testing? You're over here? Okay.
Hi. What do you think the gap between survival and success for you?
You answer that, Katie.
I think, well, you put it really well actually. You said you need to get paid for your work, right? And there's a few different ways you can do it. You can either go full-time into doing exactly what you want and make a wage out of that, or you can do what I'm doing, which is you have a full-time job and then you do your work on the side. I think for me though, the ideal would be, I've done that for so many years, I'm getting to the point where I need to give one up in order to do what I want to do full-time. Like, I'm really damn good at it. I just don't have the time to put the hours in that I want. And what I'm missing actually is exactly what you just described as the funding. Like, I've done lookbooks and Bibles for series. A decent one will take me about 2 months. That's all my free time. And I can't get paid for that. You know, if there was a way to actually get paid to do the spec work for writers and directors that goes into getting the funding in the first place. It's really ironic. You get funding so that you can either develop or go into production on something, so all the cast and crew get paid, which is amazing. The people who put in all the work to get there don't get paid. It makes absolutely no sense. This is just one example, but like people at the level that I'm at, where you've done your shorts, you put in your time, they were lovely, there's no money in that, I need a bit more, I want to buy a house, thank you. I want to go into drama, right? There's multi-cam training course was just launched by the National Talent Academies this year. I was so lucky to do it. But what everyone at my level was doing was making their shorts and then going to England and working on like EastEnders or Hollyoaks, whatever it is, to get their training. Then you come back, and because you've never directed multicam, even though you have the training, you can't get into Fair City, you can't get into Rosner. There's all these little gaps that need to be addressed, and I think the only way that you can get them addressed is by being very, very vocal. People are too afraid to complain. Like, it's a very Irish thing, like, oh no, I'm fine, I'm fine. No, it's not fine, actually. There's too much of a gap, and even with the county councils, like I had a very frank conversation with Screen Kerry, who was very lucky they funded my last short film, and I just said, do you realise that there was an actor on my film who had had 2 babies? She hadn't worked in 3-4 years. I wanted to cast her in my film. The only way that I could get her down to Kerry with her babies and with her partner was for my producer to not be on set and to be working on a TV series in Bray, to pay for a house, to get her into the house. And it's like, it's all well and good to say, I want paid work, I want to move up to TV, I want to support people with babies, we want to support neurodivergent people, but who's paying for it? It's the people that put in the spec work, you know? That's a bit of a ranty answer, sorry.
But that's a brilliant answer, Katie. I wish we had more time because we could keep going all day, but that would be slightly unfair on all the other speakers who are lined up today. So just a really huge thank you to Hannah, to Katie and to Sinead and to Mind and Creative Minds for having us here today. And thank you for listening to us and thank you for that great question.